A lot of us are thinking about how to celebrate the holidays while feeling a little bit more COVID safe this year. Testing is one tool for that, and here's a little how-to on using an at-home rapid test. I'm using a QuickVue test here because that's what was available at a pharmacy near me. There's a few different kinds, but they're very in demand and can be hard to get. This one cost about $24 for a set of 2. First thing you're gonna do is take that little tube filled with fluid, take the cap off. So next you're gonna take one of these swabs. You can open that up. You're gonna stick it in your nose. You wanna make sure that you get both nostrils using that same swab. This test told me to go about 3/4 of an inch into my nose and swab in a circular pattern several times. Oop, there's my nose. So then you need to leave the swab in the solution for at least a minute. And while we are waiting, here is Dr. Benjamin Lee, a pediatric infectious disease doctor at UVM Medical Center, answering some questions about this kind of testing.
More of the at-home tests tend to be what we call antigen tests. So those tests are looking for bits of viral protein, whereas the state-run tests are typically going to be PCR tests. And PCR tests are looking for tiny little pieces of the genetic code of the virus that can then be amplified. And that difference means that PCR tests are going to be more sensitive than antigen tests. The PCR test can detect much lower quantities of virus. So that's one important difference. The other important difference is that with any test, there's always the risk of operator error. That being said, most of the available at-home tests are pretty straightforward to use.
So here's the package of testing strips. I'm going to take the swab out of the solution, put one strip in, and leave it in there for at least 10 minutes.
And so I think part of the challenge is that everybody has to have a willingness to accept the result. A positive take-home test should be treated as a true positive, and that would mean isolating for 10 days from the onset of symptoms or from the positive test result, and letting close contacts know that we've had this positive result. There isn't any single test result or strategy that's going to guarantee that there's no risk for infection. And so I think that it's important that people recognize that even with the addition of testing, what we can do is lower the risk, but not eliminate the risk. If people incorporate at-home testing, they should, if possible, try to do more than one test, meaning testing on multiple days, with all of those tests being as close as possible to the gathering. However, a negative result for everybody doesn't mean that there's going to be zero risk. It just means that the risk is likely lower, and people should still think about other mitigation measures that they might want to incorporate into their gathering.
Dr. Lee also said that if you have symptoms and get a negative rapid test at home, you should still go get a PCR test at a clinic to confirm.
So there's always going to be a little bit of risk that the antigen test just didn't catch the exact right moment in time in which a positive individual could have been detected.
So here with the one line, that's my negative result.
There's not going to be one perfect strategy that's going to make the risk go to zero. If you have not yet been vaccinated and are eligible to do so, get vaccinated. That is probably by far the best way we can reduce our risk going into these winter months. And that includes getting your booster shot if you are eligible.